Hi everyone, my name is Pawan Kalyan. Welcome to the session of Alphabet Technologies Private Limited. Today we will discuss about the port aggregation. Port aggregation can be performed by two modes, that is static aggregation test and LACP dynamic aggregation test. Static aggregation test is used in small and medium-sized network. A static aggregation group is manually created. All its member ports are manually added and can be manually removed. Each static aggregation group must contain at least one port. When a static aggregation group contains only one port, you cannot remove the whole aggregation group unless you remove the port. Now, LACP dynamic aggregation test. In this, LACP is enabled on a port. Then, LACP uses special messages called LACPDUs, data units, to tell the other side peer about the details of its port. That means data unit packets are sent to peer ports in the network. After getting the details, the other side check them against its own port information to figure out which port can be combined with the received port. That means compares information with another port's information. Okay. In this way, two parties can reach an agreement on adding, removing the port to form a dynamic aggregation group. Port aggregation provides a grouping of physical ports as a single logical transmission path with other switches. That means port aggregation is a technology that allows you to combine multiple physical network ports on a switch to act as a single higher speed port or logical link. Okay, it improves the network redundancy and load balancing. Now configure the port aggregation in our switch. Open putty to enter into our switch. Enter. Enable the switch. Enter into config mode. For port aggregation, follow these commands. Interface, port aggregator, and enter the number. For example, 2. And press enter. Now switch port. Make it into front mode. Okay. Then exit. Now interface the ports which we need to configure into port aggregation. Let's say example interface range G. That means the ports need to be accessed port aggregation. Now let us configure assign, assign the port aggregation to these ports. Okay. For that, follow these commands. Switch port. And assign the group which we have created above. Aggregated group 2. Okay. Mode. Give the mode. Now we are doing static mode. In this static mode, network administrators manually configure which port should be aggregated. Okay. Now here port 5, 6, 7 are aggregated. Okay. Exit. Save the configurations. Save the configuration. Port aggregation is commonly used in
data centers, high traffic networks, and for connecting devices with high bandwidth requirements like servers and network attached storage systems, etc. Now check the configuration. You see port number 5, 6, 7 are acts as aggregation ports. Okay, port aggregation is done, guys. Now let's perform LACP dynamic aggregation test. LACP means link aggregation control protocol. Link aggregation control protocol allows you to combine multiple network connections or physical links in our network devices to form a single logical link and enable load balancing in our interfaces. Let us discuss this in detail. A dynamic LACP aggregation group is also manually created. All its member ports are manually added and can be manually removed. Each dynamic aggregation group must be contain at least one port. When a dynamic aggregation group contains only one port, you cannot remove the whole aggregation group unless you remove the port. LACP is enabled on the member ports of dynamic aggregation groups, and disabling LACP on such a port will not take any effect. Okay, now start the configuration of LACP dynamic aggregation test. Open the putty, enter into the switch by console cable, pen. By default, username is admin and password is also admin. First, enable the switch and enter into the config mode to configure the test. From the LACP dynamic aggregation test, follow the below commands. First, create port aggregation group. Further, interface port aggregator. Assign any group number, let's say 2, and make it into trunk mode. Okay. Now exit. Interface the ports which we need to configure as a port aggregator, right? For that, interface range. Now assign that port aggregator group to these ports. For that, type this command aggregator group 2, which is created in previous. Now mode. Previously we done with static mode. Now LACP under LACP. Okay, enter exit. The mode of dynamic aggregation group can be active or passive. It is manually set by the users. The dynamic aggregation group in active mode will actively send LACPDUs. LACPDUs means Link Aggregation Control Protocol Data Units. Group in passive mode will only respond LACPDUs passively. The major difference between static and dynamic mode is in the static mode, static aggregation is stable. The aggregation states of the member ports in a static aggregation group are not affected by the peer ports. Okay. In dynamic, an aggregation group in dynamic is called as a dynamic aggregation group. Dynamic aggregation is implemented through IEEE standards and link aggregation control protocol. The local system and the peer system automatically maintain the aggregation states of the member ports. Dynamic link aggregation reduces the administrator's workload. enable show running config. See, these two ports acts as aggregator group with LACP mode. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. See you in the next videos. If any queries, please comment below. Thank you for watching.